transferred to Marco,
Yep.
and so Marco, introduce yourself and share your screen when you're ready.
So I'm Marco Cornacchia. I'm in the last semester of the IDT program at SUNY Polytechnic. I'm kind of confused exactly how the screen sharing works. So if I go full screen in the presentation in Google Slides, is that something you're going to be able to see?
So you have one monitor, right?
Yes.
So you share your screen, and I always suggest sharing the monitor, not the application.
Gotcha. So if it shows Google Chrome is what I'm using as a browser.
And that way,
So if I,
whatever's on your screen is what we're going to see.
gotcha.
So if you want to go full screen or
So
go into present mode, that's perfect. Yep.
gotcha. So you can see this full screen now?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So my project was Purpose Now Inc. website design and development. The case for Webflow as a professional web builder. So not sure if you guys are familiar with Webflow, but it's kind of a new drag and drop web builder that is code based and it writes real code that's able to be exported, and that's kind of new in this industry. Usually it's just drag and drop, where you can see everything and there's no code able to be exported. So if we get started here. So a little background on Purpose Now. It's a nonprofit organization which was created in 2016. Their main purpose is to assist veterans who suffer from PTSD. And a little background about the person who started it is a friend of mine. We met as teenagers. We used to work at a local restaurant, and we just kind of became good friends. I went off to college. He went off to go to the Army. And when we got done, I graduated in my undergrad, and he got back. We kind of linked back up, and he was starting this nonprofit organization. He had a website that was old, and he knew that I was kind of getting into this, so it just seemed to work out where we could both help each other out for a good cause, and that's kind of how we started this. And I ended up designing his logo, which you can see below. So first question is, why do they need a website? So the first website that he had was kind of outdated. He didn't really have control over it. It's just somebody that he knew made it for him quick, just to get something up. But he wanted to just kind of redo it and redesign it and kind of bring it to life a little bit. Secondly, obviously, with nonprofit organizations, they run off donations. So that was the driving force behind the website. Really, that's what we were wanting to hammer home, was being able to solicit donations, and just make it clear that the website is able to do that. Educate audiences, just anybody who visits the website, just give them a brief background of what Purpose Now is, what they do, how they help people, and just giving examples of that and doing as much imagery as possible to show that off. And lastly, gain supporters. By visiting the website, you should be able to gain support and have people actually interested in what you're doing. His main focus right now is Facebook, so we kind of saw that that's the only really social media channel that he's on and active with. So we knew that a lot of the people were going to end up coming from Facebook and going to the website. So we sat down a few times actually and kind of worked out a needs assessment, and we kind of broke it down into 5 main things that we wanted the website to do. So first and foremost is to encourage and solicit donations. Without the donations, they're really not able to do much as an organization. And especially just starting off, it's only about a year old now. So having donations is very important for all nonprofits, especially newer ones. Secondly, responsiveness. So it had to be responsive on every device, as many screen sizes as possible. The main 3 obviously are desktop, tablet, and phone, but those are beginning to come in all different types of sizes. They're always changing. So it's kind of hard to stay on top of it. And a lot of these drag and drops don't do a great job of being responsive on all devices. They kind of give you limited options, and we'll talk more about that. 3 is site portability, which I spoke on a little bit in the introduction. And that's just really the ability to export code, to download the code. And the reason this is one of the things that he wanted was he wasn't really sure exactly who the website is going to be ran by once it's complete. So he's not sure who's going to be handling that, how they're going to be handling it, if they're going to export it to a different web builder or a different hosting. Right now it's on Webflow hosting, but he just wanted to leave that open as he wasn't really sure exactly how that would be handled going forward. Number 4, blogging and events. So this is kind of grouped together, ended up being grouped together when we got to the design process. So just having a blog that updates people or shows what the organization is up to. It could be anything from videos to events to pictures or really anything. And it was important that it was made so anybody can go in and edit it. You don't have to be a developer. You don't have to be super tech savvy or anything like that. And number 5 was just having the social media present. Like I said, we knew most of the people were going to be coming directly from Facebook. And we just wanted to show, obviously, I think it's important for all websites nowadays to just have that social integration where you can see where you can reach them on social media. So the next job was choosing a web builder. Spoke a little bit about how most web builders are today when you're not hard coding. So 3 that I chose to look at, or two of the more popular ones. Webflow is not as popular as them, but it's starting to get there. So Wix, Squarespace, and Webflow. So kind of broke it down into the 4 categories and went through exactly how they handle everything. So first one is Wix. So responsiveness, it's mostly responsive, but it does require some adjusting, and you get very limited options on screen sizes and exactly what it'll look like in real time on the device. Site portability, it's not possible to export any of the files or pages or websites that Wix has. So that was a big red flag there that kind of drove us away from Wix. The blogging does a decent job. It supports it, but it's also very limited with options and template styles. You kind of have to pick a template and go with it. And that's true with the blogging as well. Social integration. A lot of these drag and drop web builders have like social icon bars. There's some customization where you can choose different icons, but you're also limited in that aspect. The next one that we looked at was Squarespace. Squarespace does a really good job at responsive templates. That was one of the pluses with them. The only downside is there's really no customization on something such as the mobile versions of the website. So for example, a navigation menu. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the hamburger logo that's often used as a mobile nav menu. So that works well on mobile. It sometimes works well on tablet. But if you want to have that customization where you think that tablet size is big enough to have the full nav menu and have that explicitly spelled out at the top, the options that you have, instead of having it in that hamburger nav menu, that's just not a decision that can be made with Squarespace. You kind of just have these responsive templates that are limited in customizing. And that's kind of true with a lot of the other web builders that are out there. Site portability. They didn't really say exactly what is portable. They said that some of the website may work if ported over to a different web builder, but the actual having the code and accessing that and being able to look at that directly is not an option with them. Blogging had really good support options. It had good customization with that. You're able to include drafts, comments, custom URLs. It had Discuss integration, which is commonly used as comment sections of blogs on websites. And again, social integration, it does do it with these social icon bars that you're able to drag in, and there's some customization, but it is also limited. So lastly, we looked at Webflow, which is deeming themselves a professional web builder. It's completely responsive. You're able to control all of the styles, and that's on all screen sizes. You're able to have customization on all screen sizes, whatever you want for each screen size. You always do want to create the same theme across all screen sizes, but there's sometimes just certain things that work better on mobile, such as the nav menu that I mentioned in the last slide. So like site portability, this is really the biggest plus with Webflow. You're able to access the code directly, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and being able to do so allows somebody who is a web developer to take that code and export it directly and build the theme out even more so, and more customization with their own HTML and CSS. The blogging also is the same way, completely customizable. And it also has content management software where we're able to put that and allow the owner of the website to log in and blog themselves and edit, put different stories up and pictures, and they're able to do so without breaking the website or editing anything that you wouldn't want them to. So you give them direct access to only what you want them to edit, and that's a big plus. Also, social integration is you get complete control. There's no social bar that you have to drag in and put a certain place. You're able to just really open up your design and do whatever you want with it. So that gets us to the design portion. As I said, responsiveness was a very important thing going in. I wanted to make sure that we tackled that as much as possible on all screen sizes. Telling the organization's story, just kind of giving them a background of where the organization began from, what sparked the idea. Thirdly, the main call to action, which we spoke about earlier, is obviously the donations. We really want to hammer that home on the website. It's kind of the main reason for it. And lastly, we want to include the blog and have that working. So this is just the color palette that we ended up choosing. It was also designed in the logo, as you can see. So obviously we want to have a patriotic feel because it's dealing with U.S. veterans. But I didn't want to use just regular blues and reds. There actually is some reasoning behind it. So these vibrant colors, actually, there's a perceived attractiveness that people experience in everything, also included on websites when they visit them. It's something that kind of grabs their attention and retains them and allows them to continue using the site. So blue is chosen obviously because of patriotic reasons, but also it inspires safety in a lot of cultures. And excuse me. It just so red also is very versatile, and the vibrant and brighter color, it just shows a sign of energy. And gray I chose because I wanted something that you could put against a backdrop, a white backdrop, and obviously it stands out. It's not pure white, and it's able to show up against a white background. So this is getting more into the actual design of the website. You see the navigation bar, which is present on all pages. It features interactions, which I'll show you at the end. That got a little demonstration of the actual website. You can see the mobile menu down here. So on tablet size, I use the first one, which actually spells out the options. But on the mobile, obviously, these little hamburger menus that you see right of the logo seem to do a better job of tackling that on mobile screen sizes as you're limited. So hero section and color blocking. So this is kind of the section right below the nav. Gives you a short description of what Purpose Now is, includes that donation button. And on the far right, you see the logo. And with the hero backdrop, that's actually a background image of an Army soldier. And I just made that black and white. It just went better with the actual theme and didn't distract from the actual content that you want people to see. So secondly, this is the second section down. So that color blocking that I spoke about, as you can see here, if you look at the bottom of the white, you see a little red strip. That's just kind of a visual cue that there's something below it, and it encourages people to scroll down and see what is actually below that. So once you get into this section, just all about keeping the user interested. You see the imagery, you see the arrows that are pointing to the content, just giving another visual cue there. And this red bright background is an example of the color blocking. So we went from the total white screen with the little red thin bar that shows you there's another section below it, and then the full red screen once you get into this section. And you'll be able to see more of the interactions that I have listed here during the demonstration. So the last section of the home page is the major call to action. As you can see at the bottom, we have the donate button, but above that, there's a question being asked. It kind of directs to the person who's on the website. So how can you help? It gives 3 examples of donation amounts and what they could possibly provide. So a $10 donation could provide a veteran with a meal, $20 donation with clothing, and a $50 donation could potentially have a homeless veteran with a place to sleep. So these are just suggestions, and it shows the user exactly what the money could be used for if you choose to donate. So the second page is the About Us page. This just gives a brief overview of Todd and what he represents, what he went through to get to this point to create Purpose Now. And on the second half of the web page, I ask another question. So what is your purpose? Is it helping others? Purpose Now is always looking for new supporters and volunteers to join the movement. And it just gives you an option to actually contact Todd directly or connect on Facebook. And this page was basically made to just kind of put a face behind what the organization does, add that human element where you can see a picture of him and you know that this is a genuine person, this is a genuine organization, and it just prompts the visitor to get in contact directly to him. So the How We Help page, this is what acted as our blog, called it How We Help. You can go on it and see exactly what they're doing. It's going to be updated over time. There's not too much content on there right now, but it just shows what they're up to, what they're doing, pictures, videos, information about events that happened, and information about future events. And for the conclusion and future research on this topic, so the conclusion was Webflow did a great job of handling everything we wanted it to. It's a great alternative to code, which is actually writing real clean code behind the scenes that these other web builders, you're not able to access that code or export it in any way. So with Webflow, you're able to create kind of a base website, and if you want to expand on it and go into coding and give more options, you're able to do so with it. For future research, I think maybe a timed comparison of hard coding versus Webflow, if that could be done to show how much faster a website could be built, even if it's just the infrastructure, and just compare other web builders besides just the 2 that we focused on in this one. So I can actually show you the website now.
Thank you. That would be great. I'd love to see it.
Cool. Have it up in a different browser.
Yeah, you should just be able to navigate to that browser.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but you stop sharing your screen.
Okay. And you can see this, right?
You see your Safari, yep.
Okay. So this is the actual website. As you can see, there's some loading interactions if we refresh. This is the nav menu that I was talking about. It also has some interactions. When you hover your mouse over, you get a little visual cue that you're actually hovering over these. Same thing with the donate button. So these are the two main call to actions when you visit the website. It gives you a little description as I spoke about, and the logo's right here. Some interactions here as well. As you scroll down, find your purpose shows up. If you scroll back up, it'll go back up. That's just another visual cue that tells the user that there's more below once they start scrolling to keep going. As you can see, more interactions here, just kind of pointing to the content, and it just kind of loads in as you go. This is the main call to action section that I was talking about. You also get the social integration here, which just shows you that they're on Facebook and Twitter if you want to reach out. And these are the donation cards that I made. They also have hovering effects. The idea was to make these clickable and to go to the donation page and have them pre-fill the amounts that are here. But unfortunately, the organization hasn't set up their end of the donation on PayPal, so nothing is active on as of right now. And this is the last call to action right here, the big donate today button. After you get the examples of where the donations can go to, you're hit with another call to action here. And this arrow, if you click it, just brings you back up to the top. So the About Us page that we spoke about, very simple, just gives a background. This goes directly to the Facebook page. And just made sure to open it in a new tab to not take you away from the website. Contact Todd will open up an email. The How We Help section, which acts as the blog, only has 2 posts right now, kind of a welcome post and a bike giveaway that was done with the organization. And it just has, features one of his videos, more popular one on Facebook, and a short description. Like I said, unfortunately, I know the main purpose of this website was for donations, but there's not much I can do at this point. The organization hasn't really set up their end of the PayPal account that's going to be taking those. But the idea was to click these donation buttons, and it prompts you to a PayPal page, which you're able to donate in whatever amount you wish. So that's my website, and that's my presentation.
Can you show us can
the back end?
In developer, well, yeah, the back end too, but can you put that in developer mode in Safari so we can see how?
Yep, I could definitely do that. So this is the back end where you're able to actually design and develop however you wish. As you can see, like I clicked on here, it gives you the pixel width, height, padding, margin, all that type of stuff. I can kind of show you how I put this fixed background in here, so when you scroll down, it stays there. So you see this hero wrap that I have right here that I named it. It's just this main section. Backgrounds right here, you just click in, you choose fixed or not fixed, and you're able to really just do complete customization like you would in real coding, just with the tools that Webflow provides. And also, as we were talking about the different screen sizes, you're able to develop them directly how they would look on mobile, on tablet, on mobile landscape. And this is what I was talking about, the nav menu. I thought there was enough screen size here to include these menu options written out instead of having them in like a hamburger menu like I have on these. So that's just like the customization that you're able to do in Webflow, where these other drag and drop web builders kind of pigeonhole you into doing it one way.
Wait, so how do you do that on Webflow?
All right, so I'm in desktop version right now.
Yeah.
If I go to tablet, I'm changing on tablet. However, like I made this smaller.
So you
So
so
you're able to directly. I'm
so
sorry. Go ahead.
you're customizing for different screen sizes?
Yes.
That's like that's not responsive. I thought the purpose was to make responsive design so you didn't have to do this.
Well, the thing about that responsive is that it's cascading down. So any changes you make on desktop go all the way down through, and you're able to customize it if you want to.
I see. Okay. And so did you do a lot of that?
Um, I did just really what made sense. Like that was an example I did on the nav menu. But mostly I wanted to keep it. I wanted to keep it the same on all screen sizes. I didn't really want to go too far away from. I wanted to be as responsive as possible. Where if you visit it on mobile or tablet, it's the same either way.
It's the same code.
Yes,
Yeah.
same code.
So when you say that Webflow is hard coded, what do you mean?
Well, you're able to actually access the code here. So you're able to export this, and if you want to build it further, if you want to code it yourself, you're able to take that code and directly manage it however you wish.
Okay, and that's one of their distinctive feature. That's one of the distinctive features is it generates the HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and what else?
This just is assets here.
Okay,
That
so,
it just
but it
includes
generates the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript for you,
yes.
and all of those aspects are available to you in that sidebar there.
Yes, and you're able to directly. So anytime you make a change here, it's making a change directly to the code.
Yeah. Oh, that is yeah. So that's what you sort of would want WordPress, but you're like so far away from it in WordPress, right? Is that what that's your point is about the others?
Yeah, something like WordPress, I just feel like it's this just gives it in a nice look and a nice touch where the tools are just easier to manage. You don't have to go through the WordPress hassles or install all these plugins or anything like that.
You're basically using Webflow as a HTML CSS generator.
Yes.
Interesting. Huh. Where does it? Are your assets named, like your graphics and stuff? Are those named or variable or?
You have complete control of that. You can name it whatever you want. You can create symbols, which can be
Like if you wanted
reused.
to skin it differently, would you just bring in another set of assets? You wouldn't have to change any of the code, right?
What do you mean exactly by that?
So if you wanted to change from the blue and the red to different.
Oh yeah. So this is the background right here.
Yeah.
You're able to change that directly however you want.
Mm-hmm.
And that's changing the code directly. Any changes that you make on here on this builder,
Right. I meant on the assets, like the graphics, your background image, your logos, and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, you can change those to whatever you want. So you just drag in whatever images you want to use, and you're able to use that any way you want to.
Right, but if you would you like so say right on your triple right pointing logo? Yeah, right there. If you drag another image over that with the same name, then it just replaces that in the whole site, right?
Yes, and I'll do that. Like I said, it cascades down from desktop.
Yeah, cool. Thanks.
No problem.
So, yeah, so I had a couple of comments now that I figure you're done here, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Couple of questions. You might go back to those slides. If you still have them.
Yes, they're just in another. 1 second.
Yeah, you can either way. You can leave it as it is now. So first, Marco, it's actually I'm really impressed with this project, and I hadn't heard from you for a bit, so it was really nice to hear from you in December, and it's like, oh wow, you actually did it. I just we kind of lost track of each other, so it's good.
Yeah.
And I remember when we started, your kind of goal was to walk through the whole client consultant relationship.
Yes.
And to build a whole sort of model of what that would be, and to track every piece that you did, and it was like and your project was going to be about sort of your journey.
Yes.
And all the pieces that you had to go through. And so I like the way in the document how you documented all those pieces, and each one of them is a different step. And here's the step, and here's the needs assessment, here's the interview, here's the, all, and it's great to see it. And then here's the outcome, right? So we've got all of that there. There's one piece that we're missing, which is a description of what we're going to see, the journey that you took, and then a sort of reflection back on the whole thing as a project. And I think of that as like a wrapper essay. And I think if we had that, then you'd have a whole package, and we can think a little bit about how to shift some of the pagination in some respects, so that each one of your pieces becomes like a document unto itself and an example, and then that's all pointed to and referenced in that first 3 or 4 page introductory essay, or maybe we put the literature review in there as well, but I think we need a little bit of that reflection piece, and then you'll have the full master's thesis. And that's sort of the difference between like a business school project and like an MS, it's or not a business school. That's like the difference between an undergraduate and a graduate, is that we need that reflective piece to give you that graduate feel.
Gotcha.
And other than that, I think that I love the journey. I like the way you walk us through it, and I like the document because it does really go. It's very very sequential, and it shows your own growth. And so what that does is allows us to then sort of ask questions and reflect on and evaluate you on the basis of your journey, not on the the nature of the web design that you did, because that's not what you were trying to do. Is like to build yourself out as a designer in a sense. You just wanted to go through that whole process, and it's really good.
I think that's kind of what it turned into, is just the process of making my own first website without the knowledge of really being able to code, like just enough knowledge to know what coding is, and what the elements are that are involved with it, and just showing that somebody who isn't great at coding can make a website that has real code that is written behind it.
Right. And that, I think that I just want to bring that story out a little bit more strongly, because then that gives your project sort of a credibility for what it is, in a sense,
Gotcha. Yep.
Because the point is that like you said, you're not a coder, but you can build this thing, and that's the point. That's why it's interesting to see this come out. There's nothing that your website is bad or anything like that, but it's not to like, you're not trying to graduate here as like a top-notch web designer, which you may be and you may become, but then we don't have to think about the website in those terms. We think about it in the terms of what it's trying to do for you.
Gotcha.
And then when we look at that, it's actually really cool. So I don't know, Catherine, did you have thoughts or comments, or you can stop screen sharing if you'd like. Yeah, that was just
cool.
I think this presentation really helped me see what it was that you were trying to do. And that's why when I gave you the written comments, I said I was looking for either color theory or some concept, why it is you did the site the way you did it.
Yes.
And so now some of my questions don't really make sense anymore. I think bringing out that story, I think, will be helpful. And then, say specifically what it is you learned from it. So what couldn't you have done 2 years ago that you could do now? And if you use some of the ideas from IDT in that, that's even nicer to hear. We like to see that. But I think you did a really nice job of explaining it. And, there are a few things I was concerned about before you started, like the colors on the website I found kind of jarring. Yeah. And then when you explained it, you had actually thought it through really carefully and looked through, you said, oh, it's obviously patriotic. Well, I didn't see that, obviously.
I think it was obviously patriotic in the beginning when I chose those original colors, but when I use the vibrant versions of those, it kind of, you don't get the patriotic feel, but that was the basis behind it. That's kind of why I mentioned that.
Right. I think it's Bernie Blue, isn't it?
What's that?
Isn't it Bernie Blue?
Yeah.
Blue is pretty close to Bernie Blue.
It's funny because I saw it as a kind of amateurish or something. I didn't, but I also have cultural biases against using red on websites because of a lot of time I've spent in Asia, and you don't use red on anything. It's like terrible to write someone's name in red pen. I can't write with a red pen.
Yeah.
So, we all come to these things with different biases. So,
and I think that's like part of getting more into the design aspect is
it wasn't about
like that color like you said, it's in some cultures it could be it could have different meanings. It, like in my very thin understanding of design, it was like it's a really bright color that's coming from the second section, and it makes people want to see what's under that. So I guess it's just the beginning of kind of those design questions that I didn't know I was going to have.
And that was the point. And that's the point you want to make in your story, is that your journey was surfacing those kinds of questions. Like you didn't know that was a question.
Yeah.
And that essentially addresses Catherine's concern that maybe the colors, but that's okay because that's next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, yeah, and that's why I think we need that story to kind of wrap that up. Remind me of your situation. You're graduating in December. You have classes in January.
No, I was looking to finish up this December. I have all my classes. I have all my grades.
Okay. So here's the details. We have to get this wrapped and submitted by like just after New Year's, that first week in January.
Okay.
Because Mark, you were a summer thesis student, so all I need to do is put a grade in for that. There's a little bit of, so you can take your time and write that over the next little bit. There's no big rush for tomorrow because it was a summer grade, so there's really no problem.
Okay.
And
cool.
I will write you a memo, and it might take me a bit. We might have to get together early in January on Zoom just for like an hour or half an hour to think about how to package that document.
Yeah.
Because I'm beginning to see a whole bunch of these different pieces, and I think that, and then if they're referenced in that essay, then that becomes a package.
Got you. I think to speak on what you were saying as a package, like it kind of started off as an idea, like a website, and it just turned into this, like you said, it's an experience of going through all these things in a web builder that isn't just drag and drop with like there's actual meaning and logic behind the design and the actual code behind it. And like you said, finishing that up with a conclusion or more of like a reflective point of view from my aspect of why I chose the things I did and what I could do better, that makes kind of packages it all together, like you said.
Yeah. So, and I think we'll have plenty of time for that. I'll be sort of working over break, not a whole lot between now and maybe the 28th or so, or so the next 7-8 days or so. So whenever, I can't remember when Christmas hits, but whenever that does it, but I'm back right after New Year's.
Okay.
And so we'll just make sure that we wrap that up. And I don't know what the final date is. It's usually the end of that first week, whatever that Friday is. It'll be like
for the final grades, as far as the as far as fall.
Yeah.
No, you're a summer student, aren't you? For thesis.
Well, it was. I joined your thesis in summer of 2017.
Exactly right. So you've got fall classes; those are separate.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. So whenever that grade's going, it'll go in as a summer 2017 grade?
Exactly, yeah. So I just changed your grade from thesis summer class from an I to an S, or an I to an S. And as long as I do that by their deadline and certify that you've submitted. So if you've looked, let me show you the not that. So these are the components of a final submission.
Yep, I took a look at that.
Yep. And then the process is that you upload a zip file to Blackboard.
Okay.
And you should be able to hit that link, and you should be able to log in. If you can't, let me know. You can just send.
Yeah, I wasn't able to access that
because you're not a student.
Yeah.
I will remember to get you student access to that class, because then once I approve the zip file, then the library does it, and then that's how we're getting it into the library, and that's how we're actually formalizing the submission process.
Gotcha.
When you go back to your when you do your final submission, what I'd really like to do is take advantage of the export of Webflow and export a full repository with all of your source code.
That sounds like a great idea.
Because then we'll preserve it, and then somebody will come along and say, "Oh, what did he do?" And they'll have your source code, and that's like really cool.
Yeah, I think that's really like their main selling point. I feel like I feel like a lot of people in the industry are starting to use it who do know how to code, just to build like a framework, or just to get the website off the ground without having to do those little tedious things that they had to do in the past. And being able to do that in a visual builder is something that hasn't been done before.
Yeah, but they want the code. You're right. They want the code.
Yeah,
and the problem with WordPress and Wix is it's useless. You don't have the code. It's like
and not only that, but a lot of the code that these other web builders write is not up to the standard of what a typical web builder, or web developer would do.
Right. So you want really good code. You want it nicely written. I think you're right. So I think that's so. But yeah, so I think that's good. So does that give you a pretty clear sense of where to go from here and how to get done? And I think you'll be perfectly fine. It's a kind of a short additional piece to write. You've got a couple of weeks to do it, and
absolutely.
Yeah, then we should be all good.
Cool.
Okay, you're very close.
Awesome.
Okay.
Appreciate you guys listening.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.